Let's paint a picture. Say you're stuck in traffic and you're heading to a really important meeting and you've been preparing for the meeting and you just can't seem to calm yourself down because you're worried you're going to miss the start of the meeting or miss it altogether. And you're stuck in traffic, you can't move, so it's the ideal time to try and calm yourself down. And as you tap on all the points and you address the thing that's causing you anxiety, that I'm going to miss the meeting, what happens if I miss the meeting, I'm going to, I've prepared so much and all of that. As you're tapping on these points, you're actually calming your nervous system down. And by addressing what is bothering you, you're giving voice to it. But the main thing is you feel calm by the time you go through the points.
Eyes open, hearts ready. Welcome to Wellness Deconstructed. I am Zeeya Jaffer, and together we're stepping into the arena of authentic well-being. Myth-busting, truth-seeking, and definitely life-changing. Break free, live boldly. It's time for a conscious uprising. Hello, and welcome again to yet another episode of Wellness Deconstructed. Today we're talking about tapping, also called EFT, which is a healing modality for mental health. And in a nutshell, tapping is a ritual of actually tapping on acupuncture points, which are Chinese meridian points. And to learn more about that, today we have a self-connection coach who is dedicated to guiding others towards self-love and compassion. As women, we often prioritize everyone else's needs above our own, but she believes in reclaiming that journey back to ourselves. She specializes in using gentle yet magical powers of tapping, helping others integrate them into their daily rituals. And she is Aliya. Welcome, Aliya.
Hi, Zeeya. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on board and talk about one of my favorite self-care practices, because it has been such a game changer for me that I really wanted to create more awareness about it. And when I met you, I'm like, yeah, she's the one. She has to be on it.
Thank you for thinking of me again. So like you, I share the same passion with tapping. It's such an easy and simple to use modality. So I understand where you're...
Yeah, I completely understand that. I would love for us to start with you telling us what tapping exactly is. Like, I explained it in a nutshell, but why don't you tell us more about it?
So in essence, tapping is about you coming back to your own body. So it gives you a way to take a step back from whatever is happening and just reconnect with yourself. And as you mentioned, tapping on various points. Now, those points are acupuncture points. We're all familiar with the tool of acupuncture, but this is very similar in the sense that you're tapping now on these points. There are no needles, so it's pain-free. Yeah. And as you're tapping on these points, maybe addressing something that may be of concern. So for example, if you're dealing with something like anxiety and you find that you just can't get through it. So let's paint a picture. Say you're stuck in traffic and you're heading to a really important meeting and you've been preparing for the meeting and you just can't seem to calm yourself down because you're worried you're going to miss the start of the meeting or miss it altogether. So if you just, and you're stuck in traffic, you can't move. So it's the ideal time to try and calm yourself down. And as you tap on all the points and you address the thing that's causing you anxiety, that I'm going to miss the meeting, what happens if I miss the meeting, I'm going to, I've prepared so much and all of that. As you're tapping on these points, you're actually calming your nervous system down. And by addressing what is bothering you, you're giving voice to it. But the main thing is you feel calm by the time you go through the points.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, of course, it makes sense. So, and that brings me to my next question, where you said you're addressing what's bothering you, right? And reinstating.
Yes.
So there's a script that is attached to tapping. It's not just tapping on these points, but there is a script attached to it which actually rewires you to think differently, but also allows your body to accept what is going on. So can you talk a little bit about that?
So talking about the negative side of our emotions sometimes isn't encouraged, and not because people don't want us to, they feel uncomfortable. So that's why I love that's why I love tapping so much. It's because it allows us to be able to address those things. So for example, I'm sure you're familiar with The Secret, and when we were initially it was introduced to us, we were told that try and focus on being positive, talk about the good things in your life. The more you focus on the positive, the more you'll attract. So this is why I loved tapping so much, because I personally went through trauma in my life and that was when I was personally introduced to it. And what I loved so much about it was it held space for me to just say that it was a difficult time for me. And in doing that, so on one hand, I felt really safe because I could actually allow that emotion to be seen and just say that I'm going through this and it's really hard. And on the other side, feel so much better. And I was like, what is this? It's crazy. Like, how can this tool allow you to feel this good while saying something not so positive? So that's why I fell in love with the tool so deeply. And this happened to me about 12 years ago. And I just couldn't shake how incredible it made me feel. And so as time went on, I decided to pursue it and help other women who really, really don't know that there's a magical tool like this out there.
Yeah, and I love that you brought out the toxic positivity side, like
absolutely.
There is a whole toxic positivity culture nowadays where you're just forced to say like, no, everything is good, everything is fine, even when you're suffering inside. Absolutely. And I feel like that rejection of that part of us is what stops us from healing. And that's why I feel like tapping has been such a game changer for you, for me, and for so many people that have explored it as a tool, because it allows us to accept that part of us. And only when you accept that emotion or accept that traumatized part of us is when it feels seen and it can let go. Absolutely. Or it can allow us to let it go.
Absolutely.
And then it creates that space for us to reinstate a more, I wouldn't say positive, but a more peaceful state, or a more reintegrated version of us.
Yes.
And allows us to open up to various opportunities or various parts of us that are undiscovered yet.
100%. I really, really love that you said that. And also the flip side to that is if we don't acknowledge that and we suppress these emotions, over time they turn into something else. We then allow for things to happen. Like, for example, chronic illnesses are born from suppression of emotions.
Definitely.
So it's so important to allow yourself to share how you're feeling and acknowledge these things, because there's so much beauty on the other side of it.
Yeah, and you can only see the beauty when you embrace the darkness and are vulnerable about your darkness. There is no darkness without light, right?
Exactly.
That is so cool. So the script is about accepting what you're feeling and then reinstating a new part of you, right? Why don't we talk a little bit about how did you get into tapping? I know you said that 12 years ago you discovered it. What made you discover it and get onto this journey of being a self-connection coach?
So in the process, as we all do, we kind of lose sight of who we are and what we want. You're a wife, you're a mother, you know what it's like. We have all these roles we have to fulfill. And what happened for me personally is I lost sight of myself and what I needed, because I was busy serving various people in my life. And I remember I would go to bed every night and think, okay, tomorrow I'll get to me. I'll get to me tomorrow. There's that I wanted to do. And I wouldn't do it because I didn't have space for myself.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I got into this, because I really wanted other women to understand that there's so much more that life is about. And it's not just about fulfilling those roles, not to say that they're not important, but the role and the connection for yourself is way, way, way more important. Because I'm sure we've all heard the saying that you can't fill from an empty cup. So you need to first take care of you. And because I didn't take care of me, I so heavily understand the consequences of it. So that was the reason why. And then obviously tapping was the modality that I had to use because of how much it impacted me. And also the other thing was because it's so simple. It's not difficult. Once you go through a couple of rounds, you know what you're doing and you're ready to fly. Obviously, there's a reason for a practitioner to be guided at some point, depending on what the level is. But otherwise, you're still able to do it on your own, and it's such a beautiful tool to even just add to your rituals. I know you love rituals.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's just so simple to do that while you're just getting ready in the morning, and you just connect with yourself in the mirror, and you do a couple of rounds and get on with your day. And something as small as that can help just give you the support that you need, and you're almost going into maintenance. Once you've kind of gotten rid of all the really heavy stuff, then this just becomes part of your maintenance.
Yeah, and it gives you that little boost in the morning. Like that's why I use it now. Like you said, in the maintenance phase, it's like a boost for me on a daily basis. And I love that you said taking care of yourself is so important. And I feel like as women, we are so conditioned to believe that we are here to serve others. And I feel like we're just, from the time we're young, we're just like raised like that, because I feel like whether it's our parents or other people in our family, we see women serving others, but also like as parents and family members, they also give us that role at a very young age. So it just feels inherently our duty to be serving, to be taking care of our house, or being the only one taking care of a house and managing a home, or taking care of the kids, or taking care or serving food. Like these little things like just stay inside of us. And it's so important to change the narrative around that. And it's interesting that you found tapping as a way to do it.
Yeah.
What about healing deep-rooted issues like trauma release? Like, okay, when you're in the maintenance phase, you're doing it just to like boost your mood or boost your confidence. What about having these deep-rooted issues that you've had for a long period of time, or from the time you've been young? Or how does tapping help release that?
That's such a great question. Thank you. So I was just reading up about this. There was actually a study done that talked about PTSD and how war veterans suffered from immense PTSD, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And there was a study done that for 10 weeks that they did tapping for 1 hour a day for 10 weeks. And by the end of that process, they found that their DNA had actually switched. So the gene that was affecting the PTSD was downregulated. So it's incredible to see that something just like this can actually turn away something so heavy like PTSD.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
So in your work as a practitioner, have you seen like a pattern of issues or pattern of conditioning that you've dealt with the most in your clients?
So as you can imagine, women have this connection with weight loss.
Yeah.
So it has been one of the most requested sessions that I do.
So help them with weight loss, or help them get over the mindset of like
help
being
them
obsessed?
to lose weight.
Oh, wow.
But to understand what the root cause is to the weight gain, or for them not to be able to go on a diet, for example.
Yeah.
So sometimes, just as like a blanket statement, sometimes you find yourself craving chocolate, and it's just, that's it. Come what may, hell, high water, I want the chocolate. I'm trying to lose weight, I'm doing everything right, but I just can't seem to get rid of the chocolate. And what happens is that the chocolate itself is not the problem. It's the relationship, first of all, that you have to the chocolate, but also how frequently then you indulge.
Yeah.
So we get to the root cause, that what is the chocolate? So I had this client once that we were doing a round of tapping, and by the time we finished the first round, I stopped to get feedback. And she said, I couldn't help but think about this girl in my high school. That's your problem. Because we connect something that may have happened, and we use the chocolate, for example, to lean on to help us through it. Yeah. And then it becomes wired in your subconscious, and there you go. So now you have to go back to that memory and start to dissipate.
Yeah, it's almost like you use food to pacify yourself,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
And also, we live in the day and age where we compare ourselves to everyone. So it's so hard for women to not idolize a certain body type and want to be like that body type.
Absolutely.
Because even in school, like we're taught to compete with each other and get better marks than each other. So it's so into our system that when we grow up and use it in other aspects of our lives, we don't. we don't notice it or we don't realize where it's coming from.
Exactly.
And I feel like tapping also helps with that, understanding that. And of course, when you go to the root issue of it, you understand that, okay, this is coming from this
Exactly.
conditioning and this is how I can change it.
And the good thing about tapping is that then once you address the root cause, then it no longer is an issue. Then it's a non-issue, right?
Yeah.
Because it no longer holds that same charge or the same energy that it had at the beginning of the session. So I have worked with women who've done that. And in fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was just checking in and with a client, the same client, and she said, I have no emotional connection to chocolate anymore. So she eats and enjoys it, but it's not that food that will completely send her into this spiral. So that's the other thing. It's not about completely avoiding it. It's about
Yes.
removing the emotional attachment to the said food.
Yeah, it's about balance, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like tapping is not an escape from dieting or
No.
like healthy eating,
No,
eating
of
habits,
course.
right? So I'm sure you have to tell them
not-
that this is not a cure
Yes, yes.
to that, but it helps address the
Yeah.
underlying issues for sure.
I just thought of something that I would be really interesting to just. So if you think of a highway,
Yeah.
okay, and you think about the fact that you're trying to get from destination A to B, and on your way there is a block. So there is an accident or there is something that's happened. Everything there won't be a flow.
Yeah.
So if you think of your body as an energy superhighway, and if there's a block, you're unable to get to your goal.
Definitely.
So until you address that block, you then the energy can start to move, and you will move towards your goal.
Definitely. And I love that tapping connects the emotions to the body and it helps release it from the body.
Exactly.
It's not that you're addressing the root cause just by doing therapy or talk therapy or any kind of cognitive behavioral therapy. Definitely that helps.
Yes.
But I always believe that our trauma or our emotions that are not processed are stored in our body.
Absolutely.
So, and doing various psychosomatic releases is not easy. Like
No.
a lot of them, okay, breath is one of them, and I'll come back to that. But there's a lot that you need a shaman for, or you need a guidance with constantly. But with tapping, I feel like once you know it, once you know the script that works, because I know when I worked with you, you gave me a script that works for me and works for my particular issues, and then
Absolutely.
I was independent to be able to do it on my own and add it as a daily ritual.
Yeah.
And still it becomes a way for me to connect to my body
Exactly.
on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
And that's what I really like about tapping, that it's psychosomatic and it's not easily available. I mean, psychosomatic practices are not easily available.
Yeah. When you talk about that, if you think about deep belly breaths, right? It brings, if you, even right now, if you put your hand on your belly and you just close your eyes and take a deep breath, you connect to a part of you
Yeah.
that in your daily life you forget about, because it's a way to ground you again. So it's the same thing with tapping, because you're touching yourself. As you're touching on these different points, you're connecting with yourself while you tap. It already right away just brings a sense of calm. And then obviously each pressure point is calming you as you go. But it's almost like some people who will feel uncomfortable even doing something like this, because they don't have that relationship with themselves to be able to be comfortable enough to actually show themselves that level of nurturing through tap.
So what's the process of tapping like? How long does it take to do it?
It depends on the individual again. I don't like to say 5 minutes or 5 sessions or 5 months or 5 years. It just depends on the individual and the issue that we're addressing. But in general, if you're doing a maintenance tap, it can take anything from 2 to 5 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, just depending on you.
Okay.
So for me personally, on any given day, I would do at least 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
But in a high stressful day, sometimes I may do it for an hour. So it just depends.
Okay, that's really interesting. I really like the fact that you can do tapping anywhere
Yes.
and everywhere. But what if like you're actually in public amongst people and like, or before you're coming to speak, you get anxious.
Yes.
What are your strategies for that?
So thanks for asking that. I actually was feeling anxious on my way here because I run anxious, and so what you can do is you can just sit in the area that you're sitting in and start to massage. So these are the points that we already know about, right? So we have the eyebrow point, the side of the eye, under the nose, under the chin, collarbone, under the arm, and top of the head. So when you're in public, if you take your arm and put it under your arm and you gently massage here, you're tapping on two different points. And you don't have to, you can say it in your mind and just say, I'm feeling really anxious in this meeting and I don't know what's going to happen. And just slowly just massage. So you're not doing the tapping.
Not obvious,
yes,
but like you're still doing it.
And because as it is, if you think about it, when someone's in a bit of a stressful situation, they're sitting like that anyway.
Yeah.
So might as well take advantage and just start to say what it is that you're, and you don't have to do all the points.
Okay.
You can do any points that, or if you feel like giving yourself a hug and you're able to wrap your arms around yourself, again, you just massage the 2 points under your arm.
That's really interesting. So for the audience that had no idea about it and now they know so much about tapping, if they want to start, like what is a little quick script or small something that you can give them on a daily basis that can boost them up or something like that?
It could be, okay, so let's say they want to they're setting themselves up to have a really great day, or they're setting themselves up to want to have a really great day, and they're just making, maybe it's just a goal of theirs that I want to have a really good day from here on, so what can I do to support that? So you would just do that. Usually, I should just say, usually when we do the setup statement, which is here, we do it when there is a negative. Okay, but if we're doing a setup, if we're just doing a tapping ritual because we just want to have a great day, and there's nothing I've had a bad day, so I want to have a great day. We're just reinforcing that they want to have a good day. So you would just say, today I choose to have a really great day. Today I want to experience the sunshine on my face, or I appreciate that I'll have the sunshine on my face. Stuff like that, just to affirm those positive statements while we tap on the points.
And one last question before we move. What is the power of affirmations? Like, I really want to talk about that. I know that affirmations are talked about in both ways.
So I was going to say.
But there is a way to frame the affirmations, I feel like.
So with affirmations, it's a little bit tricky how to address this in a direct way. But what I will say is that if, as it is, you have a clean slate, so you're not bringing in anything else, and you're just trying to reaffirm something positive, by looking in the mirror and saying affirmations, because that's how one of the ways we've been taught, is just to make eye contact and say the affirmations. But if you're tapping and saying the affirmation, you're actually now, again, like I said, you're regulating the nervous system, you're putting your body in a calm state. So whatever you're then saying is more, it's reinforced. The other way that I also like to use tapping is for imagery. So for example, if you can see it in your mind's eye that I want this goal or I want to achieve this success, and you don't have the words for it, even seeing them and then finding supporting words is very helpful. So for example, in sessions with clients, sometimes they're unable to describe in words what they're trying to either deal with and get rid of in terms of trauma. So sometimes just visualizing that also helps to shift the intensity of the memory or incident.
So you're using 3 different senses or even 3 different self-care practices in tapping. You're touching yourself, you're visualizing, and you're saying the right things. That is the affirmations.
Yes, yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah. So I that's why I tell you, tapping is just so magical, and there's so many levels to it. What we've talked about is also still very
top level.
Yeah.
I completely understand that, because my experience with tapping was I was really stuck. Like, my trauma response was like the freeze or like flight, and bringing this podcast into action or into reality was so difficult initially, because I was just stuck in that response.
Right.
And also, every time I get triggered, I just move into that freeze zone. So what tapping really helped me with is getting out of that stuck zone.
Absolutely.
Because I'm connecting with myself and moving the energy, and like it unblocks those centers.
Absolutely.
And gets the blood flowing, energy flowing.
And the level of calm, I'm sure you feel after that, isn't it? Like, you're like, okay, I'm good to go. Take me and I'll get this done.
Again, like I always say, it's not like a huge transformation, but it's that subtle willingness to move, to take action by feeling complete. But you know that you are not feeling stuck anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's when I was like, wow, this thing is a game changer,
Yes.
and everyone needs to know about it, and everyone needs to add it to their rituals, especially moms or women in general.
Yeah.
As I feel like we are loaded up on a lot of stress on a daily basis,
Right.
and tapping really helps just get rid of that
Absolutely.
stress and just bring you back into yourself and bring you back onto that calm state.
Absolutely. Because then you can, again, like you can then serve others from that calm state.
Yeah.
Because if you're highly strung and you're in like a really bad space, you're not going to be able to be there for your kids or be there for your partner because you're so
On the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I completely feel that.
They also are really incredible tapping techniques for kids. So that's another one, because kids are always running around, and you do have some kids who are anxious because of just life for them. And they are also kids who really, really benefit from using tapping, because again, it's so easy to use.
So I remember when I had just started tapping, my son would find me. He would be waking up early in the morning in those days. So he would come to me and he'd see me doing this thing, like just tapping myself. And he's like, oh, this is cool. He would just sit next to me and just start doing it. And then I just taught him like a simple script saying, I'm safe and I'm loved.
Yes.
And then you can just do
love
that
that.
around. And he really enjoyed doing that.
Wow, that's amazing.
I don't think he does it anymore because he hasn't been waking up with me. But I think it's a habit that he saw me doing, so it will be integrated into his life.
It would be interesting to see. Maybe you should check with his teachers. Does he ever use it in school? Because the thing is that you've equipped him with a tool, so maybe you don't even know that he's actually using it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true, because he does come home and use like other tools that he's learned in school, so maybe
Right.
he uses that in school. That's really cool, yeah. I will definitely ask the teacher, actually. Thank you for being here and sharing so much information. I think our audience is going to love it, and I hope
so.
that a lot of you can integrate this into your daily rituals. And if you want to start off and need a script, if there is a particular issue that you want to release from your mind and body, then you can go to Aliya. We'll have more information about her in the description below. But before we close, I do a little rapid fire round with all my guests so that the audience can get to know you a little better.
Sure.
It's just a few questions so that we can learn a little bit more about you.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
So what's your daily non-negotiable habit for your mental health?
Ooh, can I say 3?
Of course.
Okay. So tapping, of course. Journaling, because I love journaling. It's my best friend. And meditation.
That's great. And journaling, I would say particularly gratitude journaling, because I see you post about that a lot.
So I love gratitude because I think for me it's such a powerful tool. But it could be anything. My journal is my best friend. So sometimes I'm having a bad day. My journal knows if I'm having a good day or I want to express gratitude. So
That's great.
It's everything.
Would you prefer a guided meditation or a musical meditation?
Guided meditation.
Sleep for an hour or read a book for an hour?
Or read a book for an hour.
Call a friend or text a friend?
Ooh, text a friend.
Yeah, me too. Don't like calling. I'm like, text me, whatever you need, I shall reply.
I'm an introvert, so it depends where my gauge is.
Yeah. So I know what you're going to say to this one, but let me ask you. Alone time or play a board game?
Oh, alone time.
Netflix show or a YouTube channel?
Ooh. YouTube.
Nice. Play a sport or do a different workout for 30 minutes?
Ooh, lately playing sports.
Nice. You play paddle?
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone that has said sport, I've guessed like you play paddle now.
But it's just so much fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. What's your personal mantra or affirmation that keeps you going?
Oh, everything's going to be okay. Yeah.
And what's the one piece of advice that you can give to our audience as we close off?
Everything's going to be okay.
Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Just keep tapping. Right?
There you go.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure having
Thank you.
here.
Thank
and
you
as
so
a token
much.
of appreciation, we have a little gift
Oh.
for you.
Oh, thank you
I
so
hope you
much.
enjoyed it. And
Oh,
I know
that's
you said you love
gorgeous.
journals, so journaling,
Oh,
so you have a journal.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. And thank
a
you for doing
pleasure.
this podcast. I think it's such a beautiful thing that you've set up, and a lot of people will heavily benefit from it.
It's a
So thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for your kind words.
Thank you.
A big thank you to our brand partners Lulu Kitololo, Earthstones, and Sarah Organics for contributing to our podcast. Before you go, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for watching this episode. I hope you've really enjoyed this. Remember, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until next time, keep prioritizing your well-being.